This video contains original script writing, narration, animation, and editing created by Angel S. All analysis is transformative content based on publicly available information.
In the deep, where no cameras reach, a message waits for the tide. Not leaked, not lost, allowed. They knocked once, I stayed in bed. They knocked again, the ocean spoke instead. This wasn't curiosity, this wasn't a game. Someone needed a voice to say his name. A blue whale sinks where light can't stay. Pressure heavy night after day. He doesn't scream, he doesn't fight. He turns his breath into signal and tide. They said, don't watch too close. I said, I won't look away, because nothing's surface unless it's meant to stay.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Angel. Today's video is different. We're not looking at 𝗗𝗲 this time. We're looking at another American psychic medium, Ms. Dean, from A Walk with the Ancestors. Her style is raw, unfiltered. She doesn't sugarcoat anything. And when she was contacted twice to look into Yu Menglong's case, she finally got out of bed in the middle of the night to do this reading. What she saw made her compare it to Squid Games, to Hunger Games, to a world most of us can't even imagine exists. Before we begin, I need you to understand something. This is not entertainment. This is not gossip. This is one woman's psychic impressions, her attempt to give voice to someone who can no longer speak for himself. As always, please maintain media literacy. Question everything. Think critically. And if you're not ready, bookmark this video. Come back when you are. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Contacted Twice. Ms. Dean begins her reading in an unusual way. She explains that she was contacted not once, but twice by people from the Chinese community asking her to look into Yu Menglong's case. The first time I was contacted, I tried to ignore it. I thought it was somebody just playing. But then, about 40 minutes to an hour before this reading, she received another email. She reads it aloud. I saw your YouTube video for Princess Diana. It was mind-blowing. I did not believe in psychic reading before, but recently there was a tragedy that happened in the Chinese society that awakened the consciousness of people. An actor named Yu Menglong, who was dead on September 11th, 2025. He was a very kind person. His death was very heartbreaking. We want justice for Yu Menglong, but no rush if you think it's not what you wish or want to involve, because it's not easy. Ms. Dean emphasizes something crucial. She did not watch any other psychic readings on this case. Not 𝗗𝗲, not Ty Williams. I did not want to get any information from these sources. Instead, she went to TikTok to understand who Yu Menglong was, and what she found there already started validating what she was picking up psychically. The things that I picked up on, I actually found them while doing the research. But here's where it gets interesting. Before she even starts channeling, she's already feeling physical sensations. What was her body telling her? That's what we'll explore in the next chapter. Chapter 2. The body's first signals. These are the things I picked up on first. Ms. Dean starts describing the physical sensations hitting her body, even before she formally began channeling. I kept feeling like he had either little cuts on his body or something. She felt tiny marks, almost like paper-thin cuts. When she researched on TikTok, she found validation. They said they found little needle marks on his body. But that wasn't all. I had a pain in my leg, as if I had been kicked real hard, around the lower thigh, knee area. And then as she was setting up her computer. I felt immediately somebody stabbed him in his temple. She points to the side of her head. It did look like on the video that somebody stuck him in his neck, but I felt like somebody stabbed me in my temple, up here. That's not something I saw on the video. Ms. Dean then mentioned something the TikTok community had discovered. By going back through Yu Menglong's old videos, people noticed bruises on him, bruises that had been covered up with makeup. Apparently, they felt like he had some sort of bruise on his leg where he was limping in one of the videos. I couldn't see the limp, but that's what they said. But for me, it was validation of what I was picking up on. The physical evidence was just the beginning, because what Ms. Dean was about to receive next would explain how he ended up in this situation in the first place. And it starts with one word: sold. Chapter 3. Sold by family. This young man was sold by his family. Ms. Dean doesn't hesitate. She says it directly. Into what here in America we would call a conservatorship. He was sold into that. But he's not the only one. Apparently, this is something that they do in that community to their celebrities or stars. They have a very, very tight grip and control on them. She references what she found on TikTok. They named like 3 or 4 people that were thrown from windows or buildings, and one of the ladies, she was a tennis player, had been sold into a relationship for 10 years with someone. This is what they do. Ms. Dean then receives more information. They have facilities that they take these people to, torture chambers. And then she says something that will become a recurring theme throughout this entire reading. The best way I can explain what they were showing me is this shit is like Squid Games. And the new show on Netflix called Wayward, where they have these people, these kids or whatever, in this like dormitory thing. This is like that, Squid Games and Wayward, run by, allegedly, this particular party. Allegedly, their sex trafficking and human trafficking isn't really spoken about as they speak of it here in America. But it doesn't, because it's like a hidden secret that everyone knows. Chapter 4. He tried to fight. He said he tried to fight his way out, but he could not. Ms. Dean begins receiving direct communication from Yu Menglong's spirit, and one of the first things he wants to talk about is his dog. He's talking about the dog, because apparently his dog was also murdered and tortured when he was as well. He says, "They gave me no choice. They gave me no choice." He tried to do all the things that they asked him to do. All of the control that they had over him was just not enough. Ms. Dean then clarifies something important. They keep saying about the torture that he experienced in this video, but this is more than that. This is torture on a continuous and regular basis. Like when I say he was sold into a torture chamber. Do you understand? She then shares a visceral image she received. "I felt like I saw somebody almost roundhouse kick this boy in his fucking chest, bro. And I don't know if he was kicked out the window, killed, kicked off the building, or off the balcony. But somebody almost like roundhouse kicked this boy in his chest. He probably had a huge bruise in the center of his sternum or chest. And then I also saw like somebody had stuck him on the side of his head with something. Like he had been fucked up before his passing. Horribly fucked up." He keeps saying, "They were never going to let me go. They were never going to let me free. It was all like a lie." Chapter 5. The Price of Love. Ms. Dean hesitates. "Child, I was trying to walk around that. I was trying to walk around that. I was not trying to say that, but I feel like he got caught. Like he just I feel like he just wanted to be in love. And then she says it. He was caught with somebody very powerful, someone's very powerful child, son. Not like underage, but this is just not accepted. Ms. Dean explains that this, combined with the 2019 incident where he refused some kind of key or award from a famous real estate woman, created a perfect storm. This goes a little deeper, because I feel like this is almost about his love life. This is like he got caught with someone that feels like was a very important person's son. She continues, I will tell you what else he keeps showing me, and I don't know why he keeps showing me K-pop. I don't know what the fuck that has to do with anything, but he does. It's like almost like he was being used, but he was being a disgrace. I feel like he's being used also as allegedly as a sex slave. But I just feel like whatever that was not allowed. It almost feels like everything has to be dictated or controlled. He's a very kind and sweet person. He just really just wanted to be like left alone and okay. Chapter 6. The Betrayal. I almost feel like somebody's death, whether it's his or somebody else's, was done in front of other people. Ms. Dean pauses. Like they're doing shit in front of other people. She then receives information about a female friend. When I was laying in bed, he kept saying that he had tried to call someone or he told someone something. I feel like it's a female that he told. That feels like a friend, or he thought she was a friend, or he thought he could confide in her about something. But then comes the devastating truth. She told, to save herself. But she was never your friend. These people are placed. You did not know. Everybody has a price. Everything has a price. Ms. Dean continues, he fell in love with somebody. I don't know if that's on set or somebody came to see, whatever the fuck. But you know what it feels like to me? I feel like that person was in love with him too. But I feel like they traded on him, or betrayed him. Like, oh no, not me. He was trying. That's how it feels to me. Like somebody traded on him or betrayed him. He makes me feel like he felt so alone, so by himself. Everything twisted, given no choice. He says, wasn't beat just one time. He was beat a lot of times. The videos that they're showing is not from the day of death. I don't feel like that's the same day. Chapter 7. No leak. This is a message. He says, there is no leaked footage. Ms. Dean's voice becomes firm. This is a message. Nothing gets out unless they want it out, he says. And this is a message. She explains, they're so controlled and locked down that if a journalist were to put something out without it being given permission, that's... She trails off, the implication clear. Sometimes I feel like they have taken chances, and it did not serve them well. He says that he wants the public to know that, allegedly, his death was a hired hit that was paid for. Which has been said, allegedly. Ms. Dean then addresses the nature of this ritual. It's ritual. But this isn't just like, you know, a 𝗚𝗀 sacrifice ritual. This isn't just that, child. I got hot. I don't know what the burn is. Keep saying burn. Burn. So I need to say burn. He keeps saying 10 years. Like the paper is for like 10 years. Or they wanted him to be under this conservator contract type shit for 10 years or whatever the fuck. His death is like several different things. Like I said, casualties of war. But it's also a message. What they're getting out and letting people see is because they want you to understand. If you go against them, this is what the fuck it is. Chapter 8. Squid Game's Reality. Their whole regime is Squid Games. Ms. Dean doesn't mince words, but it's like the Hunger Games shit. If you are under contract, like their entertainment people, these motherfuckers are under like, this is what they also have to do behind the scenes. Like, it's like Hunger Games, and it's not just entertainment. She describes what she sees. They bring regular people in. Like, these people just want to survive. Like, they hold silent contests, and if you fucking survive, bro, they're bringing in celebrity people and they're bringing in regular people, and it's fucking Squid Games, bro. If these people, they show me like a tall building, kind of like, and it has all of these little bitty apartments in it, and people just want to survive. And so they take so many out of whatever the fuck building over here and over here. And this is how their whole shit is run. But it's like quieted. It's secret. They don't talk about it. It's not that it's illegal. They just don't talk about it because nobody wants to get killed. He's a casualty of war. So when I'm saying that, it's war games. Their whole regime, their whole society is run like a fucking Hunger Game, bro. He was like discarded. I don't even think he came out of a window. Chapter 9. How he really died. I don't even think he came out of a window. Ms. Dean's voice is certain. Like, that would have to be shown to me on CCTV for me to believe he came out the window, bro. 'Cause I feel like he was taken and thrown out of a vehicle and left there. Like, for his friend or whoever the fuck. Because I feel like that may be who he said something to. This is all a fucking message, bro. This is how they want their shit to run. And this is how old man want this shit to run over here, baby. She then describes the scale of the torture. This boy was beat for like 3 or 4 fucking days, bro. Tortured on end, different rooms. Like in this room, he's beat up. In this room, he's stuck with something. In this room, he's burned. But it all feels like fucking Squid Games, bro. It feels like, oh, but you gotta try to get out. Like he is beat to death, in a sense. To where maybe they thought he was so badly beat and bruised that they probably assumed he came. I do not believe he came out that window. I'm telling you, I would need to see a video. I don't believe he came out that window. I believe that he was brought there. People are watching this happen. People are paying money to watch this happen. Like Hostel. Chapter 10. The Watchers and the Bets. This is not just the Chinese community. Ms. Dean's revelation expands the scope dramatically. You have people globally that are flying over. Sadistic people. You know, this shit is like different rooms, but they can be watched. They're watching them, like elite people are watching. She describes the viewing setup. I feel like you can come and watch it in one of the rooms, like on a thing. Or you can watch it from like a CCTV type thing. I feel like they're betting. They put bets down. Like yen. Yen. She pauses to confirm. Is that money currency? Then, yes, okay, that's Japanese money. Because whatever was fucking paid for? Oh, so that means that somebody Japanese won. It's like they got the money on who's going to win. Yeah, this is like betting, like fucking fighting and shit. She describes the spectators. But it's not like, oh, the Gambino family getting ready to... No, this is people in fucking fur coats and diamonds watching this fucking shit happen, bro. It's almost like they're getting off on it. It's so weird to me. Whatever was paid for, once his time in the simulation ran out, once he had expired from Earth, what was paid for? I really want to say like 1.7 million here or something, but it still seems low value for somebody's life. Chapter 11. The Rat and the Rice Bowl. He says some of them have no choices. Ms. Dean pauses, then delivers a chilling detail. They sew things up inside of your physical body. He was owned. He did not own himself. He could not make decisions for himself. Some days he did not fucking eat if they didn't want him to eat. Then comes one of the most disturbing images of the entire reading. My God, he keeps showing me like a rat type thing. And he keeps saying like, they'll put him in a room with this thing. They won't let him eat for a few days. And it's like I keep seeing like a bowl of rice, and then this rat. And they put the bowl of rice in the middle of the fucking floor. It's almost like he's battling this rat for the fucking food or something, bro. I don't understand. I do not know. Heebie-jeebies. It's like they got the money on who's going to win. Yeah, this is like betting, like fucking fighting and shit. He wasn't the only person that died. He was just the most notable person that died. He says, I never hurt anyone. I feel like they let him have the dog to appease him. Like this is his friend, his only friend. Nobody around him is really real. Chapter 12. Government control. He was sold, like he was working off a debt. Ms. Dean explains the system. He was sold. He was owned by this party. Because there is no difference between like what we would consider Hollywood here. There's no difference between their actors, their entertainment industry, and their government. There's no difference. The government owns and runs everything, apparently. She then makes a pointed comparison. This is what y'all's president is trying to make here. He's trying to do it here. And so, they don't have the freedoms. They have semi-freedom that looks like freedom, but it isn't. They're heavily watched and monitored constantly. What can be considered illegal here is whatever the fuck they want to go on over there, allegedly. 'Cause they have all of the power over there. This is what they're trying to do over here. They're in cahoots. Because I feel like, yeah, they're in cahoots. She then receives a geographic message. He keeps saying, Korea did not win you. This is owned by, like, China, Germany, Russia are the three parties. There is like no... We've already talked about that though. Watch all of the political heads that are coming into power under the regime. Like y'all's president. Chapter 13. The Triad. I don't know how to approach that. Ms. Dean hesitates then. He says, triad. But then he shows me their new head. Political person. That would be like the president. The communist person, whatever the fuck. She continues. He's not just like some regular Joe Schmo that, you know. This guy would be considered a fucking high-level gangster. He keeps saying triad. I only know the triad to be like gangster type shit, allegedly. He's like chamber houses, torture chambers. This is like Squid Games. I don't have no other way to put this shit. They're watching them run and try to chase. They already know there's no way for these people to get out of this shit here. This is a torture chamber, bro. It's some below ground and some above ground. She then receives more information about the political leader. I guess he took over. Allegedly. Forcibly, he took over. Watch all of the political heads that are coming into power under the regime. Because, and this is crazy to me, but I'm telling you, the guy who's taking over as their like political head, whatever, is not your average fucking Joe, bro. He is feared. Because he is, allegedly, feared because of who he is, who his connections are, what he is known as, and what he's known to do, allegedly. And therefore, everything is not just changing, but changing and has changed for the worse. Although some of this shit was already in place, but he has taken over, allegedly. Chapter 14, Ming and the Dynasty. I don't know why he keeps saying Ming. Ms. Dean pauses, trying to understand. I keep hearing Ming, Ming, but then I want to say Ming Dynasty type shit or something. Ming. I hear Ming, and then I want to say Dynasty. And I don't know if I'm supposed to put them together, but I'm going to say them together because that's how I hear it. Then, a viewer in the chat confirms something shocking. Ming is one of the killer's names. Ms. Dean reacts. Oh, well, okay. She then connects this to the broader picture. This is a multitude of things wrapped in one. This has something to do with his love life. This has something to do with politics, foreign democracies. He says, twisted thoughts and people, feeding energies. Like he keeps saying, feeding all of their sick thoughts and fantasies. This is not just one thing. This isn't just this young man being tortured and beat. This is deeper than that. And if you're just joining, you'll have to go back to the beginning to get all of the details that I've already given. I hope this answers some of their questions of, you know, what they were asking. This young man, like I said, you can find a lot of shit about this on TikTok. But I just wanted it to be what I picked up on. Chapter 15. Will there be justice? Someone asks the question everyone wants to know. Will he get justice? Ms. Dean's answer is immediate and definitive. No. No. His story can be told, but you can't bring justice to a complete political party that is a regime that is in full control of a people. So no. Because it would be bringing down a tower. It would be bringing down a tower because of how far this goes up. She continues, we can get this out. We can tell the story. We can say what happens. But these people are powerful people because they're in full control, and it's unfortunate. Earthly justice? She pauses. But I would say, for y'all's people to go into whatever your spiritual faiths are, and start calling justice from y'all's ancestors and spirit beings. You know, there's karma. That's what I'm saying to you. Call out to y'all spirit beings and ancestors and asking them and demanding justice upon that plane. But far as like a government of justice, no. Chapter 16. Calling the Dragons. They can throw somebody under the bus. Ms. Dean explains why earthly justice won't work. They can lie to you and go and just get somebody to make the shit look good. So maybe the people arrest, but the people who is responsible for this and others? 'Cause he's not the only person. Is not going to be like arrested and brought to justice? Because you would have to bring down your whole CCP. That's not going to happen. And then she delivers her most powerful guidance. But call out to y'all. Better call out to the dragons. And ask them and y'all ancestors to do their big one on behalf of these people. Because again, you is not the only person that has lost his life. There has been a few people that lost their life and will continue to. Because people are paying to see it done. So I send love to, I can't even say to his family, because I feel like his family is who sold him into this at a very younger age. Anyway, gratitude for showing up. I know it's very late and very early, but I send love to everyone, and I show gratitude to those who contacted me. Chapter 17. He just wanted to be loved. There's no arguments here. Ms. Dean makes her position clear. I said what I said. I picked up on what I picked up on, and I can only give you what I pick up on. And he was, unfairly done things to. And I feel like he really just wanted to be okay, and be loved, and find love. She reflects on his character. He's a very kind and sweet person. He just really wanted to be left alone and okay. I feel like he loved the notion of acting. He loves that fantasy land, being able to do something and be someone else, and show skill. She then adds with a touch of humor, channeling his spirit. He's laughing like, but I don't really, have all of that. The spirit's humility comes through even in death. He fell in love with somebody. I don't know if that's on set or somebody came to see, but I feel like they traded on him or betrayed him. Like, oh no, not me, he was trying. That's how it feels to me, like somebody traded on him or betrayed him. Chapter 18. Government Experiments. Let me say what you're saying, though. Ms. Dean channels more of his message. He says, some of the battles and fights are not fair. Well, for one, because it's more than just one person. But he's not strong enough, because he keeps saying, some of them are government projects. Some of them are government experiments. Test of strength. So when he said that, he said, do you understand what I mean when I say that? Yes, I do. She elaborates. Like, some of them seem as if they have superhuman type shit. You know what I mean? Like they're strong. But they're not like muscular or big. They just seem very... 'cause I feel like his sternum was broken. Like he is beat to death, in a sense. To where maybe they thought he was so badly beat and bruised, 'cause also something about the back of the head too, that they probably assumed he came... I do not believe he came out that window. I'm telling you, I would need to see a video. I don't believe he came out that window. I believe that he was brought there. Chapter 19. Not just him. He wasn't the only person that died. Ms. Dean emphasizes this repeatedly throughout the reading. He was just the most notable person that died. There has been a few people that lost their life, and will continue to, because people are paying to see it done. She reflects on the K-pop connection. I feel like they're doing this to some of the K-pop artists as well, 'cause it keeps repeating that to me. I don't know where that shit connects at, but I feel like there is some sort of crossing over of different things here. This is not just like something that's happening in China. This is a lot of different countries coming to do this and see this. And they're trying to make it acceptable by putting this type shit in TV shows and movies here with the American public. So it can be accepted here, because they want to bring all of that here. He keeps saying, barbed wire, barbed wire. There's no escaping the facilities. Is there more than one, or is there just this particular one? He says it's like 3 or 4. And then he says other countries, all over the countries. He's never been to all of them. He's been to some of them. The only other thing he keeps saying is Russia, allegedly Russia. Something like, I almost feel like he's missing 2 teeth, or 2 of his teeth were knocked out. Or something like, something's wrong with his teeth, 'cause either 2 teeth were knocked out or a tooth was not there and 1 is chipped. Chapter 20, Final Words. All right, Ms. Dean prepares to close the reading. Gratitude, solitude, ash. But before she ends, she makes one final statement about the reading itself. There's no arguments here. I said what I said. I picked up on what I picked up on, and I can only give you what I pick up on. And he was, unfairly done things to. And I feel like he really just wanted to be okay, and be loved, and find love. So, I send love to everyone, and I show gratitude to those who contacted me. But call out to y'all. Better call out to the dragons, and ask them, and y'all ancestors, to do their big one on behalf of these people. Because again, you is not the only person that has lost his life. Gratitude, solitude, ash. That was Ms. Dean's complete reading on Yu Menglong. What she saw was different from Candace Starr. Where Candace focused on the spiritual damage and the contracts, Ms. Dean went deeper into the system. The squid games, the betting, the torture chambers, the government control, and one name that kept coming up, Ming. But perhaps the most important thing she said was this: call out to the dragons, and ask them, and your ancestors, to do their big one on behalf of these people. Because earthly justice may never come, but spiritual justice, that's something we can all participate in. If you're from the Chinese community watching this, Ms. Dean's message was clear. This is not just about one person. This is about a system. And the only way to fight a system this powerful is to call upon powers that are even more powerful. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you understand something new, please like and subscribe. Not for the algorithm, but because the more people who know, the harder it becomes for them to keep doing this in the dark. May light be with you. May light be with Yu Menglong. And may light be with everyone still trapped in those chambers.
He says, I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking you to see they didn't show my death for justice. They showed it for control. Tell them I tried. Tell them I loved. Tell them silence was the real violence. This is how power teaches people to stay. If you resist, if you love wrong, you become the lesson, you become the song. They say it's illegal, no, it's just unspoken. Everyone knows, but no one breaks open. The whale doesn't rage, the whale remembers. Pressure turns down from the sun, pretender. You obey, always the law, always down. Knees of its scroll, torn and still guarded. What are you sold to? The last good core. That's for the substance, the word, yeah. A message from the tide. but everyone is meant to know. In the deep where no cameras reach, a message waits for the tide. Not leak, not lost, alive. They knocked once, I stayed in bed. They knocked again, the ocean spoke instead. This wasn't curiosity, this wasn't a game. Someone needed a voice to say his name. A blue whale sinks where light can't stay. Pressure heavy night after day. He doesn't scream, he doesn't fight. He turns his breath into signal and tide. They said, don't watch too close. I said, I won't look away, because nothing surfaces unless it's meant to stay. Now if you think they slipped out by mistake, no, nothing escapes a system like that. This was released, this was releasing. This was the tide bringing something back. The blue whale carries a message from the tide. Not an accident, not a lie. If you're seeing this, you're already inside. This is the warning, they let survive. Will the sky light up? Will the sea stay quiet? He sings through the dark so we don't deny it. The blue whale rises slow but wide. This is the message for the time.
Finally, I want to clarify something. When Miss Dean says he was sold by his family, I don't believe she means they intended to harm him. In China's entertainment industry, this happens all the time. A talented child, a seemingly legitimate agency, a contract that looks like an opportunity. When the parents signed, they saw debut, stardom, a chance to change their fate. What they didn't see were the clauses written in fine print, the training fees that never end, the penalty fees that make leaving impossible. By the time they realized something was wrong, their child was already famous, the contract was already binding, and it was already too late. So when we say sold by family, it's not necessarily betrayal. It's more like a family being swallowed by a system. They thought they were helping their child. Instead, they pushed him into a cage he could never escape. This is the cruelest part of this industry. It turns love into chains.
From the tide. He says, I'm not asking for revenge, I'm asking you to see. They didn't show my death for justice, they showed it for control. Tell them I tried, tell them I loved, tell them silence was the real violence. This isn't one case, this isn't one name. This is how power teaches people to stay. If you resist, if you love wrong, you become the lesson, you become the song. They say it's illegal, no, it's just unspoken. One knows, but no one breaks open. The blue whale carries a message from the tide. The blue whale carries a message from this time. No, decide if chapters buying whole like on slice. Stay high, if survive. Will the sky light up or will free shine? The future reverberate with a cool, the conversations low and wide. This is a message from the tide.
想尽自己的能力去帮助别人吧，就是会觉得帮助完别人心里会很温暖，会觉得很幸福，就是通过自己的能力让别人得到了爱，会觉得很开心。也希望大家多多支持公益，尽自己的能力去帮助别人。